Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Thank you all so much for being here at our inaugural Startup Grind Fort Lauderdale event. It's a great turnout. And yes, as Enrique was mentioning, this is the fourth chapter in Florida. And Startup Grind is a global community with over 150 chapters worldwide. So we're really excited to bring it to Fort Lauderdale. And we're here at the Broward College Innovation Hub. And thank you so much for letting us host it here. We're really excited to have Paula Celestino here today. She's originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I almost said it with a Portuguese accent. And she's the founder of Closet Karma, and she's also the COO of marketing at Creative, which is a digital marketing agency. So we're really excited to have her here today, and and thank you so much for being here, Paula. So come on up.
Wow, thanks everybody for coming and watch me speak. That's awesome.
So why don't you start and tell everyone a little bit about your personal life, where you come from, and how you grew up, and how you first got interested in entrepreneurship.
Well, like you mentioned before, I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I grew up with my mom, dad, and my sister until I was 15, and my mom decided to have another one. But basically, I grew up very comfortably. My father had a company. It was in the material handling business, so very manly and dirty. And my sister and me will play in the factory all day and all night, looking at my parents work every day, right? I guess that's what entrepreneurship came from, just watching my parents like working for maybe more than money, I guess. And well, then basically Argentina had a big economic crisis, and most of the people living there lost everything, kind of like it's happening in Venezuela and right now. And we moved together to the United States really without thinking that we didn't have a plan. That's what I mean. We just came to get out of a situation, and then the situation got worse and worse, and we decided to stay. And well, that's where it got interesting, I guess. But that's basically the beginning of it.
And I know you're also a Broward College alum, so since
Yeah.
we're here at Broward College, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how that experience was for you, how you, what did you study, and how did you work while you were in school, or what did you do?
Yeah. Well, I owe Broward College a lot. First of all, it was the only school that opened the doors for me and my sister. I mean, for us, coming from a comfortable situation in Argentina, then losing everything and coming here and starting from scratch and suddenly having to be your parents' support. College, even though I did college in Argentina a year before I got here, because I was 18 when I actually arrived on my birthday, which was like the worst birthday ever. But it turned out to be probably the best birthday ever, right? The best birthday present, right? But it was just a big change in our lives. And for a lot of years, just thinking about going to college or university, how we say in my country, it was impossible. In Argentina, schools are basically, you can have the private school or the public school. And it was never a question, really, if I could go or not. I just knew I would. In Argentina, education is super important. If you don't have one, then it's on your own because the possibilities are there. So it was given that I would have some sort of education. And when I got here, and that possibility at first when I arrived wasn't, it really made me lose who I was. And I was 18, right? Imagine my parents. So it took us probably like 5 years to be able to have enough stability and to actually go knock a door of a school and say, hey, like, how does this work? Like, I have no idea. Like, I didn't know. And a friend of us, a friend of my sister actually was the one going to college, and it was so cool. And it was the first one of a whole group. And she kind of told us, hey, come with me. I introduce you to people in the administration's department, and then they will try to help you out. And believe me, it wasn't easy. It wasn't like, hey, I want to go to school. Then, like, how do I apply and this and that? Actually, my immigration status, we applied for, the only thing that we could was some sort of, how you call it, asylum. But Argentinians don't get asylum. So actually, we were in the door of deportation. And the judge, when we went to court, decided to give us like a court order, right? They said, I can't open precedent for Argentinians to get asylum because, we can't do that. But I can see something happen to these families, so I'll open that opportunity, sorry. And so I didn't have the actual status to be able to apply. And I was like, well, guys, but just let's be honest. Like, I have an ID, I have my work permit, I have this. Then go talk to somebody else. I understand that I'm not on your drop down, but talk to somebody else. Well, that talk to somebody else took like 6 months of trying to get into school. So it was a lot of determination there.
Yeah, that's very impressive that you stayed strong through that, and I'm so happy that you finally found a space at Broward College. Can you maybe tell everyone a little bit about some of the first jobs you had in Argentina or in the U.S.?
When in Argentina, I was a slave of my parents, basically. They made me work for them for food and car. They gave me a car. I didn't even want to drive a car. I used to live, at least the last house that we had was pretty far from the factory that we had. The factory was in a factory area, which was horrible. And my parents, maybe 4 years before we actually moved here, bought a house and in a very nice place. And my dad used to say that it looked like the Simpsons kind of neighborhood. And that was a good neighborhood. So, like the houses and people like biking. It wasn't like a city. It was a little bit far from the city. So it would take me like 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get to school in the morning. No, 30 minutes, I would say. And my dad, as soon as I turned 16, he's like, guess what? You get a car. I'm like, what? Well, I'm not paying for somebody to drive you anymore, and so you're gonna have to learn how to drive. And he basically, we were trying, I was learning, I hated it, and I used to fail at all the video games for driving, and I thought that it would be the same, and I was like, I will die, just like in the video games. And so I actually started driving, and I'm a pretty good driver. Let's say that. But yeah, I mean, during that time, I will just have to work with my parents and be either the secretary or the person that goes look for the payments. In Argentina, nobody mails you payments. You have to go and hustle the payment. Yes, you're like, I'm not living here until you pay me, and I'm bringing like 3 bigger people than me later on, and things like that. So I guess that taught me. And then when I arrived here, my first job was in a pizzeria, and was like the only job we were having, and as a family, right? And so it was so important. And I remember people asking me, like, can I have like a salad and with this dressing? I'm like, they want a dress in their salad. I don't get it. My English was really bad. I get the dressing, it's like maybe over the top, but even today puzzles me. But it was like the most important job I had in my life in terms of survival, right? And it was difficult, but then, you do your best, and then people notice when you do your best. And there was this lady who will call me every Tuesday night for a pizza. And one day she said, what are you doing working here? And I said, well, it's my job. I have a job for you. Just give me a call. And she gave me a card. And I treasure that card like you have no idea. She asked me to call not now, like in 2 weeks. 2 weeks at that same time I call, and then she kind of pushed me like, next week. And then I kept calling. And now the following week. And then I kept calling. And then I would say to my mom, that lady ran out of excuses of telling me to call back. Like, I'm embarrassed to keep calling back. I feel so bad. And my mom says, no, feel bad of quitting. keep calling. So eventually I call. And she said, okay, just come by. And I said, yes, I have the job. And when I got there, and this lady was Puerto Rican and spoke Spanish to me, and kind of like throw a couple English things here and there, but really we spoke in Spanish all the time. And so I thought, I have the job. But then when I went, it wasn't. It was a window treatment company. It took me years to pronounce that, window treatment company. So I went there, and I was going to be interviewed not by her in the room, which she was my anchor, right? She brought me in. She was my safe zone. 3 other people that spoke no English, Jewish Americans, and so I was completely at loss. But I kind of, during the time of preparation for the actual interview, I imagine the whole interview in my mind, right? And I'm pretty good at it sometimes. I'm pretty good at it. I don't know. I kind of guess what people's gonna ask me or tell me back after I said something, and I don't know. Anyway, I still think that there was some divine action that happened at that time, because I kind of rehearsed the whole interview in my mind and prepare like lines in my mind, right? And so in their interview, I would say, yes, I guess I was like 19. Yes, I am a 19 years old girl, and yes, I'm from Buenos Aires. Okay. And yes, okay, no, and things like that. And then saying, by the time at the end of the interview, that, it went pretty good for my English level. They basically gave me the job, but I had no idea what I was supposed to do on the job. I only knew that I started Monday, and I didn't know how much it would pay me, but it was better than pizzeria, So I started Monday without understanding what I had to do. I was so nervous that I lost my voice for a week. After the week of faking it, I guess, they realized that no, I couldn't speak English. The job was to be the receptionist. And I couldn't understand what people were talking to me on the phone. People had like so many different accents. I only will look for the names. I memorize everybody's names in the company, and I will listen to the name and then just forward it. And that was it. But apparently I sucked because there was a lot of people complaining. But it wasn't all my fault, because there were 2 people in the company. Two of the owners was Ilana and Elaine. And for me, those names were exactly the same. So it was a matter of 50-50 chance. And I'm not good with chances, apparently. Yeah, no. So They basically asked me to move me out of the front desk, and they put me in like the back of the company, and they had like an ugly desk full of spider webs, and I decided I want to make this desk the best desk of the company. So I knew that they were planning to tell me to let me go like the end of that week, right? And I cleaned it, very pretty. I put together a computer with pieces of computers that they had. They couldn't believe it that I put together a computer, right? And then I don't know, I started like noticing that customer service people were spending too much time like doing copies and looking for flyers and having to climb things in the back of the factory that they had to get those flyers. So I said, I want to make sure nobody spends 1 minute of their time doing copies. Probably they hated me now that I think about it, because it was like their time to chill, like doing copies, and I look for the brochures, and I was like, don't worry, I have all the brochures for you here. So they kind of felt that I was useful. I made myself useful. I found something to do. And I was ready to hear those words to, like go back to the pizzeria, and I didn't. And I worked with them for 2 years, and then I moved into another window treatment company. After those 2 years, I worked 2 more years in the same industry. And I moved from customer service VIP person to actually some customer service for the Latin community that were not being helped that well. That's what I would tell them, right? So I started working like that, and then they knew that I was kind of good with computers, and they asked me to do some type of work in their system. It was so old. I don't know if they will still use something like that, but the thing is, they had these price tables, and they needed to have in the computer for each size the correct price. And I would just check that all the prices were okay. I actually found a lot of errors, and I saved them a lot of money. So I was in that department until I left, and I learned a lot of English. I don't know. I learned a lot, all around it. So that was my first experience. Then, like I said, I moved to the other window treatment company, and after that, I went to a construction company for multi-million-dollar houses. I thought it was going to be the most fun job ever, and maybe meet millionaires. I don't know, but no. No, they told me, you're going to be the office manager. I'm like, yeah, office manager. I was managing myself and myself only, meaning that I was working there from morning to night, and I kind of like broke down in my house, and after 3 months of being a slave of these people, and I told my parents, I can't. I can't. I want to go to school. Like, I need to, I don't know, but I need a break, right? And my dad is like, well, your sister does websites. Like, she has like 1 client now. Why don't you like work with her and like do a real company? And I really didn't think much of it. I'm like, yeah, Pia wakes up at 10 a.m. I wake up at 6 a.m. Like, I don't think that will last long. And 10 years later, we're here.
So you've been working with creative ever since.
Yes.
And how did Closet Karma come into the mix from all of that?
Well, that was years and years after. That was like actually kind of like last year, 2014. So during all that time, we basically with my sister, we paid off school based on creative, right? We started paying off school with whatever money we made and support my house as well. So I will take 1 class at a time, long semesters, or 1 class or 2 are really long. But we just kept going. Not being able to be a full-time student didn't stop us. We knew it was going to take longer, but at least it was something, right? And so I did Broward College for 2 years and something and a change. And then I did FIU because at that time it was Broward Community College and I could only get my associate's degree done. And otherwise I would totally have stayed because I live in Coral Springs and I had to go an hour back and forth to Miami Beach, in South Miami for my classes in FIU. And it was a pain, and it was a lot more money, the classes and just the cost of logistics. But we did that, and after I finished school, I needed a hobby, I guess, right? You spend so much time working and then studying and completing your day with stuff that, once you finish, you're like, oh, I'm done. And I don't know, I just couldn't be without doing something, right? And so I kind of had a crisis, like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to do something different. And I had this idea of looking at my own closet that we don't, as a society or the world, whatever, we just consume fashion in a really, really inefficient way. Right? And if I look at my own closet, and I'm not very frugal, and I have priorities, but I'm a girl too. But anyway, looking at my own closet, and at that time I was going out a lot with my friends, and I felt like I needed a new piece, a new dress, a new something all the time. I know it's silly, but I thought, I bet all these people in the same building have the same problem, and they have a closet full of stuff that they wore one time like me and they don't want to wear anymore. So I started thinking, okay, what about if I do an app that allows people to exchange? And then it got more complicated, and then I solved that, and then I got more complicated and I solved that, and I had it on my mind for a while, but I didn't think myself as maybe capable of pulling something like that together. Honestly, like even if I had a company already with my sister was a designer. She did a little bit of coding, and I was selling and just administrative stuff and then project managing, right? Which I didn't really like. I still don't like project managing, but it's very important and part of the process. So I decided, I went to this event and I saw Steve Wozniak speaking, right? I didn't even go for Steve Wozniak. He was like a plus. I had no idea. We just crashed this event just to do some networking and sell websites. And then we were sitting there, and Steve Wozniak is, there talking, one of the founders of Apple with Steve Jobs. And he basically said, and gave me this concept that I have never heard before. He said, if you really love something and you're passionate about it, whatever time you spend on it, it will always be worth it, right? You will not regret it, even if you don't make one penny out of it, because it's your passion. And he said to everybody, like, do you think that you guys are holding iPhones and have personal computers because I wanted to put one computer, one iPhone in front of you? No. Do you think I did it because I wanted to create the next $1 billion company? Hell no. I did it because I wanted a computer for me. Only at that time, computers were available for universities or and like governments and things like that, armies and stuff. And so he wanted one for himself, and he worked night and day for that, for himself. And he was the happiest person having a personal computer written on paper. He said, like 1001, 1001, and things like that. Coding, that's cool. And he said, the day that I put one together, even in paper, was the happiest day for me. So the rest was great. But when you work on something that you love, nothing will compare. Nobody can compare to that, and that might not take you to maybe money, but your experience working there will open doors, and those doors will open those opportunities. So that for me was like, so I can work on something that I don't know if it's gonna make me a millionaire. Yes, and I said, okay, let's do Closet Karma then. And I started doing it as a personal project and to explore my own creativity and to break my own blocks, of creativity. So that's how I started.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of your, biggest challenges or fears and how you've overcome them?
Yeah. One of and this is after lots of failure and lots of falling and lots of therapy as well. But one of my probably biggest challenges is myself. I think that I speak to me and a lot of women that sometimes we are our worst enemies, right? And we're so perfectionist, and if it's not perfect, then it's not good enough. And if I don't have 3 PhDs, then I'm not, good enough to start something. I need 5 more years of working in a company to be able to run a company and all these things, right? We're very doubtful, and one of my biggest challenges is that doubt and fear. Like, I realized that I had, it's weird because you don't notice. You go through life, and I've been through a lot of things, and makes me feel fearless in a lot of ways. But then I realized I had so much fear. And then one person told me one time, why you're full of fears? Because you're creative. You're imagining all these bad things will happen to you if you do A, B, and C. And fear can be fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, of looking, like a fool in front of people. Fear has many faces, and we all have our fears. For example, one of my fears was feeling embarrassed in front of people, right? People thinking that I'm stupid or that I look weird because I had an accident when I was 3. And I know a lot of you guys might not notice because it works like this. A lot of people doesn't notice, and a lot of people notice. So I had an accident, and I hurt my left eye so bad that I lost a lot of vision when I was 3. So when that happens, your eye stops developing, and also I have a lot of surgeries in it. And what happens is that your eye, since it can't see, starts drifting away, right? So when I was young, I was really bullied because I had a lazy eye, right? People can be mean in middle school and stuff. And so then I got surgery when I was 13, so I was getting into high school, thank God. I changed schools too, and I got surgery at that time because you needed to wait until your eyes fully develop and blah, blah, blah. But I got surgery, and it was less noticeable, but it was because, the eye moves a little bit slower and stuff. So for me, that was one of my biggest fears, right? Even though a lot of people don't notice, and a lot of people don't see that as, Paula is, they might say Paula is, intelligent, beautiful, this, that, and yeah, she has that, right? But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as the first thing people see and people judge me by. And to put yourself out there, it's hard because you're your first and your biggest enemy, right? So, for example, I share this with you. I want to try to be strong and not get emotional. But it's so recent, It's I'm still working on it, even though I'm 1,000 miles away from that. I have a lot of work to do. And last year, when I launched Closet Karma, when you have a startup, it's not as you have a company, okay? A company protects you in a way, right? If it fails, it's you and all these people behind you's fault. It's not only you, right? So with Closet Karma, it was mainly me. And also, I was talking in front of a lot of people that already knew me for creative, and I thought that if I didn't have a good impression on them, that it could impact my work and my business with creative. So I was very fearful of that as well. But mainly, it was my eye. Like, I didn't want people to realize I have this issue, this problem, this fault on me. And I applied to the Business Plan Challenge from the Miami Herald, or I should say the Miami Herald Business Plan Challenge. And my sister had done it for a school project the year before, so I thought, I can totally take on this. But imagine, it was a lot of pressure. My sister won it. I mean, I needed to do well, at least. So I apply, and when I apply, I did mention this to you. I apply thinking, okay, this sucks. I'm not going to go anywhere. This business plan is terrible. They're going to laugh at my face. These people will think that I have no brain. And well, I got selected, and the first thing I thought is that, oh, they probably didn't have enough people. They probably, because my business plan was terrible. I mean, honestly. But the funny thing is that a guy, a lot of times, and I know there's a lot of guys here, so, but a woman looks at herself in the mirror and she's like, I need 3 PhDs to open my own company, and a guy is like, I can be president of the United States tomorrow, right? So, a guy, if they will get the news about, getting through the business challenge, the business plan challenge, they will be like, yes, I'm going to win this. Instead, me, it was like, oh, they probably didn't have enough people, right? But anyway, I kept going through it. And then after that, they told me, okay, you're a finalist. Now you need to do a video, like, with a camera right here on your face, and look straight and say your pitch. And I'm like, I can say my pitch, but the only thing I can't do is looking straight at the camera, because I just can't. And I mean, and it was such a hard moment for me personally, because I didn't want to embarrass myself. When I talk to people and I move my hair and I move my head and I move my eyes, you can camouflage it, right, a little bit, or my makeup. But then having a camera right here and then having to speak straight in the camera, I felt like, oh my God, it's going to be embarrassing. Everybody, all my colleagues, people that I admire, people that I don't know, that don't even know me, are going to think terrible things of me, are going to think that I'm probably, I don't know, mental issues. And I thought, I'm not going to do it, and I was practicing my pitch in front of a mirror, and the first thing I will notice is like my eye drifting away. And I was so upset that I decided, you know what, I'm going to just drop this. This is just stupid. This is just, I don't want to do it. And then I slept on it. It was a day before, and I said, I'm not going to let this win me. Like, I don't care. And I'm going to pretend that I look at that camera with the straightest 2 eyes that a person can have. Like honestly. And I look, I was terrified. I did flawless makeup though. I try to distract people with my hair and makeup. And so I did it, right? I imagined that I could do it, and I could see straight, and I just went for it. And I was terrified. I left the room, and I told the guy, well, if you see my eye kind of like looking away, then just put a logo on my face, like cover it with my, I gave you a couple of screenshots, like put the screenshots on it, like cover it, please. And he's like, what? Okay, whatever, just remember it. So 2 weeks afterwards, after that, I'm at the office with my sister. We have an office in Brickell. We just moved there like a few months before that. And I get an email from Nancy at Miami Herald. She covers all the startup stuff and has an awesome blog. Follow it. Sometimes I'm there. I'm kidding. And she sends me an email saying, "Congratulations, your video is up in the Miami Herald .com website." And I'm like, oh my God, like 1 million people are gonna watch this. It's so embarrassing. Oh God, and to win, I had to, on top of having the judges and everything, I had to share it and get likes and get votes. So it was a double sword, right? I get votes, but I look ridiculous. And if I don't share it to avoid being ridiculous because of my eye and the pitch, then I can't go through. So I didn't want to click on the video. My sister's like, "Come on, Paula, don't be an idiot. You're being an idiot right now." My sister is wonderful. She's like my idol also, and she's younger. So she tells me, "Let's watch it together. We watch it now. Let's get it out of the way. It's fine. And if anything, we tell them to edit it." Okay. So I open it and I started watching it, and of course, as you can tell, I started crying immediately because I realized that the last thing I saw was my eye, even though I could see it, right? And I'm my biggest enemy sometimes. I could see it, but I saw other things before that. And for the first time, even though, I'm a pro posing for pictures, and I did work on TV, like on the side and things like that. So I'm not a shy person, but this was beyond. This was me raw in many levels, like professional, personal, and everything. And I realized for the first time how people see me, right? Not how I see myself. And then I realized, wow, I can't believe how much this personal challenge was holding me back from achieving maybe my potential. And I don't think that I'm on my potential. And, if we think that, I'm at my potential, that's sad too, right? We're always evolving, at least I am. And I realized, okay, I need therapy. Bottom line, I can't allow things like that. And who knows how many other things there are inside me that are holding me back from achieving things, right? So at that moment was the picture perfect epiphany, like, wow, I've been holding myself for too long. I'm not gonna allow this anymore. And so looking at myself in the mirror and talking to me, it's one way that I do to really break myself sometimes, right? And convince yourself that you're good at something that maybe you're not yet good. It's the first step to be better at it. So that's at least from my perspective.
So what advice would you have for people that are just starting their own businesses or that are just trying to think of an idea? How should they be spending their time? How should they decide which idea to really pursue?
Yeah. Well, there's different ways to start businesses. One is desperation. That's probably the way that I started with my sister creative. And then the other one is being probably smarter. Like, think about the things that you're good at, passionate about, and that thought that keeps you up at night. If you have a thought, an idea that keeps you up at night, then that's good enough to give it a try. And you don't have to put yourself, like, too much pressure on yourself that it has to be the next $1 million company. Just do it because the fun of it, if that makes sense. And what I will do is things that I learn along the way. There's amazing resources all around it for entrepreneurship. But more than come and hear talks, which are incredible, inspiring sometimes, right? I actually put together talks because through my journey as a woman in tech, which it has its own challenges, I felt like there were not events for women, right? And talk about those things that we deal with, and to make people see that they're not that far from those people talking on the other side, right? So I think going to those events, yes, like this one, get inspired and meeting other people around you from the community. And there's resources in school. There's resources as well as events like the one I just put together. Some of the people like Adam here, Juan somewhere, I don't know where's Juan, but and his girlfriend there, I can see her. I put together an event last month called Startup Weekend Diversity Miami. I don't know if you heard. We mainly advertise in Miami for the convenience, and it's all about just breaking your own barriers into entrepreneurship, breaking your own fears, breaking your creative blocks. And I think we achieved that. And people came together from different places, and now they're forming companies and they're forming friendships. And you know, these events, those are you go and just put yourself out there and allow yourself to fail miserably and make a fool of yourself. And those are the events, and those are the experiences that more are gonna leave you with something, you know, the more gonna teach you something. And so last month, after we went through the whole weekend of pushing and cranking code and not even code, there were companies that didn't have anything code, but they had an idea for an app, and they presented. And some people, you know, it changed their lives. Whether they're going to start a company or not, they have a different outlook on their capabilities, right? And so that's the idea. I think that I will suggest keep going to events, look for resources in your city, and also look for events like Startup Weekend. There's Startup Weekends in Fort Lauderdale, in West Palm Beach. In 125 countries, there's Startup Weekends. And plenty of companies there are very successful started there. But that's not the point. The point is not to start a company there, even though it might happen, it can happen, and it did happen. It's not the point. The point is to try and get yourself out of the comfort zone. I hate to get back to cliches, but I love it. I love to say, get out of your comfort zone. We put so many limits around us that are like blocks of fear. If you really dig enough, you'll find a fear behind that block, right? Fear of yourself or your own judgment sometimes. And when you start playing, right? Because these events are more like play in a way, and they're designed to be that way. You realize that you're being too hard on yourself, and there's easier ways to get into entrepreneurship. And it's all about pivoting. If you're in startups, you know what pivot is. It's changing constantly. If something doesn't work, you change it right away to something that, you know, you can try again, and maybe that will work. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. So that's entrepreneurship. And I'm not talking to you from a position of success, right? What is success anyway? Like, success is, for me today, is doing something that you love and that you can live off that. That for me is success. Then whatever comes after, that's even better. And another thing that I learned is that the more you put yourself at service, the more you put yourself in a way that you can empower people, the more you empower yourself. You know what I mean? So when you're in a point of desperation or whatever it is, and you don't know where to start with your idea, the best way sometimes is to help somebody else, right? Because our minds were like that. So I suggest that you guys keep moving and just put the first foot forward. Sometimes that's what all it takes, you know. Nobody that I know started their companies thinking that it's gonna be amazing, or I'm gonna make so much money and my life is gonna be, you know, all pink and roses. It's about that idea that keeps you up at night, and you just do one step and you follow with another, And then you don't know where that other step will be, but you just do another. And then you end up in a completely different road that you ever imagine yourself. But you're so grateful for the journey that you're building for yourself, right? So that's basically what I'm doing, guys. You know, I have Closet Karma. I had my failure with Closet Karma. I chose the wrong team member, and I decided to, for a long time, it was devastated because I worked so hard into it, and then suddenly I have nothing, right? But then I realized I have everything. It's not that I don't have anything anymore. I don't have maybe the functional website, and, well, website I have it, the app itself. But after some back and forth and, you know, deciding where I wanted to go and what makes me happy and everything, I decided I'm going to rebuild my team. I'm gonna keep doing this because I think that the world needs it. Bottom line, you know, it's fun, and I'm not there for the fashion. Of course, it started like that, but I think that the world is going to a place of more sharing, you know, and sharing economies, projects, and Closet Karma is all about the sharing economy, right? So I believe the world's going there. That's my bet. Then what else? I think that we consume fashion in a really inefficient way, and that we can help each other and help the environment.
You also mentioned, we might be able to decrease the amount of clothes that end up in landfills.
Yes, like if you extend the life cycle of a clothing item because you wear it once and then you allow another person to wear it, you know, for another time or 2 times more, then you're decreasing your carbon footprint, and that also affects the garbage. How do you say that? The
landfill.
The landfills. Yeah. Thank you. So.
And also, in many cases, it may, you know, lessen the burden on, you know, child labor and that sort of thing.
Well, that's definitely, like, if you ever heard about fast fashion, the reason why we have access to really inexpensive clothes is because of fast fashion. Fast fashion is terrible. These big companies that I don't think that they don't have to stop doing business at all. They just have to maybe change the way that they produce clothes. That's all I'm saying, right? I just want to people, you know, to allow more people to wear whatever they want without having to spend all their money or put themselves in debt, and also having to go to buy cheap clothes that just fits this horrible industry that kills people on the other side of the world, right? And I don't know if you heard, like, there's factories in Bangladesh and factories in Cambodia of big name brands that, you know, they take advantage of the fact that they don't have maybe the good labor rights and they don't have any environmental laws, and because of that they can produce very cheap clothes. And that's unfair. I don't want to wear something that somebody, like, you know, drain. I don't know how to say. Suffer for, yeah. So that is my mission behind Closet Karma, right? And that's why I want to continue doing it. Honestly, I know that there's a possibility to make money, and of course I have a business model and everything, but I know that more possibilities will open up as soon as I get to the right places, and I'm just there for the mission. So when you have a mission, you have a passion for it, all these challenges, all these problems are small. Now when you see somebody that started a company, and then I hear this all the time, like, I started something, but the first challenge that they have, they drop it. And they drop it not because they're lazy. They drop it because of fear, right? So that's why I'm so passionate about that particular thing, because I found it in myself, right? And I think a lot of people have the same problem.
Yeah, and another thing that really stuck with me from our conversation earlier was you said, if you think the world needs it, do it.
Yeah.
And that's, very true of your mission with Closet Karma. And another side thing that you're doing now is making a Spanglish keyboard.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned, you don't expect to be a millionaire from making a Spanglish keyboard. So a Spanglish keyboard is auto-correcting both English and Spanish at the same time without having to
switch. And Spanglish, because we all do. I'm sorry.
And it's
you do those, yeah.
And it's the same thing. You want it for yourself. You think the world needs it. You don't know necessarily how much money you're gonna make off of it, but.
And the truth is that I'm being smart as well in terms of, okay, I'm not putting my house in, like selling my house for, to building this. I wanted to make sure that I wanted to do it, but I needed to do it in a way that was really, 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 really extremely cost efficient, because I knew that, I will get downloads. Believe me, I have people, like my friends are waiting for it at least. So I know that I can make money off them already. But the truth is that, I mean, the technology used for this is nothing patented or nothing that some other big keyboard company can like replicate easily as soon as they see that, there's a need for this, right? So really it's more the fun of it. I think I need it, and a lot of people need it, and also it's not that costly to do it for me, so I'm doing it on the side. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
No. Did I speak that much?
No.
I just feel like I should start it.
You're hilarious. I love your stories.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll end the video and just have a little more time to mingle, and you guys can come ask Paula any questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah.